Hello, now back with part 2, and in this one we'll look at how we can make a user motif and then use it to help with these green daisy leaf shapes and cut down on some of the digitizing that was involved in those. I also have a suggestion for an alternative way of doing the centers in these roses by substituting a different pattern for them. Also have a look at putting in another layer in a slightly different colour behind this blue bow just to give it a little bit of body. And first we'll look at these user motifs. So I'm going to select the green and just hide everything else for the time being. So here we have the green, and we're going to make a user motif. So we go to the user editors, and the one that we want to select is this middle one here, and we're going to select this here. Now this stitch here, you have a start stitch here and an end stitch here, and the object is that we need this to finish here whatever we do with the stitches in between times, and we can actually alter the width and the length of these using these little measurements later on. So we start off with this, and let's move one over here, and we're trying to recreate something like that daisy shape. So we're looking to do something that's got a little bit jagged on it, I suppose, is what we'd say with it. Let's bring that one down here and push here, click on here, click and drag back down to this part here, and then let's move one out onto this side here, and in, let's do two at once. Maybe not. You've got to hit the right one, otherwise they actually fight back. And just now, the one thing that I wish in this is that we could see this red line a little better. Possibly if it was in a different colour it would help enormously. No, it's not that one, it's here. So going back onto that centre line, let's go back out the other side now, and let's do a short one first and then put a jag onto it here like that, and make a jagged edge out here and then back in. Pull this one over here and put a long one out here, I think. Do it over here, give it a bit steeper, and then put a nice little onto there, and then perhaps down here cover up this gap here up the middle and onto the end here, and that gives you an idea of what it looks like there. And we want to increase the width to about 6. I want to reduce the minimum length of the stitches. I think your smallest stitch should be 1.5 in this. 1.5 on your smallest stitches, and let's raise the height sort of to make that 9. Okay, and let's call this daisy example, and this will be an ESM file, which is an M-bird motif, and it's then saved into a little folder that I keep for these, and click save. Now I'm going to click OK, and in fact what will happen is this will appear at in the user defined section of the parameters when we're looking at a stitch here. So let's start with a run line, and let's put this one in first of all. So I'm going to go here, start here, and go up to the top in my parameters here, and then I shall go up and select the daisy example. So we're looking at 9, minimum length 6, maximum stitch length, the width of it is 9. I can go up if I want, take that up to 12 perhaps even. The minimum stitch length I want is 1.5 and the maximum stitch length that I want is 6. So it's quite a long one, and let's click enter and generate the stitches. There we go. And then obviously what happens now is we can backtrack. On the backtrack we then want to take that and alter the parameters into the single run line. There we go, single stitch, apply, generate stitches. Next, back to the digitizing tool, hit the number 3 which starts the next one, and let's step over to here, enter, and then start over again, number 3 up to here, up to this one, and we're going to put in another, I think we'll give some curve on that. There we go. And this one needs to be the daisy again. Let's leave that as it is and enter, generate stitches, backtrack, there we go, adjust that to single run line, parameters, single run line, apply, stitches, and now we just want a single stitch, and we'll do this travelling along here onto there, and then to there, and to here, and here. Oops, pick this one here, here, and click enter for that line, and we'll just put one more in. Here we go. I don't know why I put a connection in there, that's not what I wanted. Escape and run line number 3, and we're going to go up to, I'm going to just do that here, click this up there, move that curve bit here, and this one needs to be the daisy example, in, generate the stitches, and we'll backtrack again, ready, and clean that down to the parameters. Here we go, single stitch, apply, generate stitches. Alright, so you get the idea there. At the moment these are all in green. What I'll do is if I put them into a pinky purple, just for the sake of demonstrating it, be able to see this is what they look like. Perhaps they're a little flat, maybe we needed a bit more an angle on it when we made it. However, I think it gives a fair representation. Go over into vectors and just move it down here. There you go. And if you compare that with the image, maybe, let's go back into normal and let's move it back. So here we go. I should have grouped them all, shouldn't I? So click them all, right click and group. Now I can move them all in one go, put them back, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make those go quiet. It's not that far out, just the angle perhaps is a little bit flat. Okay, and if I now made those green, there we go, and look at it in 3D, and then put back some of the others, it's probably actually not that bad. It's a suggestion, it's an idea. If you can go with it, then make some nice ones for yourself. hopefully it would cut down on some of the digitizing. Right, I'm going to delete this and I'm going to go View, Show All, which brings everything back. The next one that we're going to have a look at is these little objects here. So I'm going to find that one here, and this is just a suggestion for an alternative because that patchwork pavement effect of a fill looks quite heavy. So how about we go to Parameters, go into Motif and try this one. FRA number 8, I think. Yeah, it is. FRA number 8, apply, generate stitches. I'll do the same one on this one here, which is the next one down. Go to Parameters, Motif, switch it into FRA 8, apply, generate stitches. Okay, and escape to come off. And you can see already they've gone into little dots. Bring it up a little more and you'll be able to see if I magnify it. Can you see? Just using that inbuilt pattern that Embird supplies and turning them into stamens rather than into a blob, and that can just sometimes make things look a little bit more attractive. Now the next thing I thought that we'd take a quick look at would be to come up with a suggestion for you just to give this bow a little bit more body. Now at the moment you have it here. It could just as easily, if I right click this, I can, whoops, held the wrong thing, right click and hold on to it and just move it down under there, insert after, and the reason that I've done that is I want to turn it into yellow. I keep forgetting it's not hatch. So let's bring the yellow down. That turns it into a yellow. The next thing that we're going to do is copy and Control V to paste it. And then we're going to turn this one into blue here, and then go to this box down here where it says, gives you the dimensions of it with this little rectangle here. If you click on that, it will bring up the transformations, and then all we're going to do is just enlarge it by at least 1 millimeter. So we're going from 7340 to 75 ish. Okay, apply that and it just makes it a little bit bigger, and Control G to generate stitches. Oops, sorry, I have to close this first before it'll generate the stitches. So Control G and generate the stitches, and as you can see it just gives it a little bit of a lift underneath. You don't have to have that yellow if you don't want. You can put it into a gold colour, but it was just going to give it a little bit of body, bearing in mind the weight of the rest of the design. It just balances up a little bit, doesn't look quite so empty in that bow, and it just gives it a nice, it'll just give it a nice little bit of a luster, particularly with the gold being somewhere between the blue and the background colour of the fabric. Well, all things considered, I think you've done a great job here. I really do like the way in which you've used these different stitches and the effects on them for the techniques, and of course being a large design and having the complexity it does, you do have quite a lot of colour changes, and that's where perhaps if we go back and have a look at the jumps that have happened in between. I'll do this. I'm going to knock the stitches out by hitting Alt and S together. If you go to vectors, it should now have that. You can see all these jumps all over the place here, and then if I actually take away object boundaries, you can see the jumps. In fact, you can measure some of the longer ones just to give you an idea of how far you're sending your machine on a trip. That's 129 millimeters, call it 130, 13 centimeters from one side of the hoop right over to the other, and then another time from here over here. Some of these jumps are completely unavoidable, but some of them you may be able to find a way. If you can, it would be the icing on the cake. And it really would be in terms of this design, because you've done such a great job. I'm just going to put View, Object Boundaries, Alt S to bring the stitches back, go to 3D. It's such a cracking job and you've worked so hard on it. It would be lovely just to do those extra little bits if you could. quite a nice little exercise. So I don't know what it is that you're going to use this design for, but I hope that you enjoy it.